morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No clue what time you're watching it, but I know that it is Sunday, March 24th, 6 p.m. Futures have just opened, and I was absolutely fucking shocked to hear the very first ticks come out as buys. So here we are looking at the futures, looking at what took place after the FOMC as I share 1 hour views where I have on all my charts. And as you could see there, you had a virtual retracement of the entire FOMC meeting over on the Dow, over on the Russell, which you have over here on the right, the exact same reaction. Not only down to the 5 day moving average, which is moving up, but obviously a complete rollover. And again, only coming inside of that FOMC candle. Look over onto your S&P, which everybody's familiar with, and we still have not filled the gap from after the FOMC reaction. And then you come over onto your NQ, which as of Friday was basically fucking flat. But it doesn't matter because it brings us to where we are. And I am going to go quick with you because I know a lot of you have been distracted with things that you've got going on in your lives and not being able to keep up with too much going on. As the market closed on Friday, the House approved what the Senate passed, which is the $1.2 trillion spending package so that they could fund the government going through September. And inside of that package is, as you know, 17 million billion, whatever the fucking number is, to pay for people going to college in Egypt. There is I don't know the numbers. There's money there to teach your kids how to be trans. There's money in there to go ahead and get further late stage abortions. There's money in there for this. One thing I did not put up here, I'm gonna do it right now, is squatters. That's right. You now have not only the squatters taking place and killing people, but you have the governments of these countries, of these illegals, not undocumented, illegals that are crossing the border that are actually being instructed on how to go and squat and take over a house in the United States, which you can do nothing about. Nothing. Come over into, again, what you may have missed. There was a massacre that took place over in Moscow at Crocus City Hall. They've captured a number of them, and you guys can go and fucking argue whatever the fuck you want to argue about, whether it's ISIS, it's not ISIS, it's Ukrainians, it's not this. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to go through all of this. The next day after this attack occurred, which was Friday night, you could find on menus in restaurants in Kiev where the majority of your taxpayer money went to fried mozzarella sticks, fried chicken fingers, French fried this, in a thumb to the nose of how the Ukrainians feel about the Russians. And Russia went and deployed 14 of their bombers that are able to drop nuclear warheads, some of which cross the borders into Poland. And it all happens on the eve, the 25-year anniversary of when NATO changed its rules and Joe Biden supported it. And they went in on day one and absolutely demolished Yugoslavia. It's also the 24-year anniversary .com highs. And over here in Israel is Israel going to Rafah. And everybody in the United States has finally started to, including Kamala, who said, don't do it because you are going to absolutely annihilate all of those people there because they have no place that they can go. And Israel is going in, whether the United States wants it or not. So now you've got shit going on over in Russia, and it ain't gonna fucking just go away. You've got this going over here in Israel, which has been going on, and the motherfuckers should fucking just never mind, because too many people get offended about certain views. But then you also have here chips. China, chips. China is going to has started blocking the use of Intel and AMD chips in government computers. This came out yesterday. And now all of a sudden, so many Muppets are out there and they think that NVIDIA GPUs and CPUs are the same thing. Another one going on with that is China, Philippines. Let me show you here. China and the Philippines, and there was a boom, boom, boom right there. The Philippines deployed 2 Coast Guard vessels, one supply vessel, to illegally intrude the waters near China's Renzhou Saturday, facing the Chinese water cannons. Now, according to the U.S. Philippine agreement, anything that China does to any Philippine vessel, the United States is required to go and defend them. And you have here, which I'll agree with, is China and Taiwan. And China over you won't see it here. Everybody's got too much shit on there. In any case, blah 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 blah. China went over and sent 20, 23, 24, 24 aircrafts over into the Taiwan Straits surrounding the country. And again, it all leads us to where we are, which is going into a very short week. Short week being Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do not have a Friday. And for all of you that understood is a video game and how the video game played, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, we were green, green, green. So therefore, not only was it there on the Thursday after the FOMC, where we went with the 52.55, 52.50 credit credit and got $3 credit for 150% return, full credit. But then again, there on Friday, looking for a red close being under 52.41 with the 52.45, 52.40s. And again, having closed below that, we got another $3 credit, 150% return. FOMC rolls, as I shared there, I would suggest, which is what I mentioned there, throw them out into Tuesday, Tuesday being the day after tomorrow, because I 100% expect that we are going to be below 5,200 by Tuesday, and that is why I also suggested rolling these rolls up to 5,205, 5,200, expecting that minus 50 close due to happen. And let me turn this off because I can hear already futures are starting to take a little bit of a tumble. But I bring you back here onto the SPX. SPX on Friday, a 16-point range. Go fuck yourself. After a 20-point range the day after the FOMC, I'm already sleeping. We have had a couple of these minus 20-point ranges and nothing to really react over. However, the big number here being 18 and 3. 18 green weeks, 3 red weeks, and we now have 2 green weeks in a row, which used to, again, used to for the old timers that traded prior to October 27th when Israel invaded Gaza, used to be a big, hey, guess what? We got 2 green weeks. 3 green weeks don't come. Well, that all changed since Israel went into Gaza October 27th. So where we're at here, from a bigger, broader, wider picture, thanks to Volatility VIX, got to pull up this chart, and since from October 27th to March 22, which was Friday, We are at 101 trading sessions without a 5% correction. Now, I'm looking at something a little bit different, and that being, I didn't put the chart up here. Let me put it up. I've been looking at this as not even being able to get a 3% correction. This is where we are on a 30-day view. And again, we have never taken our eyes off of the requirement of needing to break down below 49.20. Right here is your big gap from back in February when NVIDIA reinvented. And I have a special, another special, which we've shared multiple specials. Got another special on NVIDIA that I'll share at the end of this video here today. So here is your NVIDIA recreates an AI gap, blah, 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 blah. And we had our big gap unfilled over here from back on March the 5th, March the 4th. Here is our gap from the FOMC meeting reaction as everything went hunky-dory, or am I wrong? No, this is the weekend gap going to the prior weekend. This is our FOMC reaction right here, and this is the unfilled gap to 52.25, 30-day view. Ooh, I can stay on this. I forgot. This is your wider view. Looking at your 21% move from March 2018 to March 2024 up into July, and then your almost 11% decline into, well, where Israel invaded Gaza and we bottomed, having known we were going up in November no matter what, because we had had 3 consecutive red months in a row, and you don't get that. And these in red are all of your unfilled gaps, with the largest decline coming back here actually February 13th, a 2.54% drop. We had a 2.32% drop heading into the very beginning of the year. And that's the biggest drops that we have had in this entire move forward. And a lot of people will be very judgmental about that, and I won't hold it against you. A lot of you are very unfamiliar with bubbles because you've never actually been trading in one. We are now going into the final week of March, and we're looking here at only a 15-day chart with the 5-day moving average starting to move up, which is always our number one spot. Minus 1% is now at 52.08. Minus 2% is at 51.55. And as everybody knows, 51.75 is where we will find our first confirmation, or not confirmation, suggestion that we may have topped. Gap to be filled comes down here still to 52.25. Then you've got your minus 1% level and your FOMC candle being here, which begins at the magical 51.75. So again, that's the move down that I am looking for short term. That's all that I'm discussing as far as this goes. Come over here onto your QQQ. And what I'm looking here on the QQQ is I'm looking at a 5-day, 5-minute with the gap unfilled from the day after the FOMC meeting, and a very, very clear 438.38, which has been support all during the course of last week. Now, I will bring you into the aftermarket. And there you go. After the close over there on Friday, there was a fake print right down at 441. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Prepare to see 441 at a very early stage of this week, and zooming it out even further, which we constantly do. This is our 433.50 still being able to be unbroken way down here, having had our 3.83% reaction, a couple of pennies higher on the all-time highs over there on Thursday, and then your decline as to what we've got. And here you go with your fake print 441 which brings you back into the middle of this zone where middle resistance was before those pops, and then your 438.38 with 433.50 being down here. And very few of you remember the dot-com bubble back in 2000. March 24 is where we topped off. And all of the selling came out of the NASDAQ before it went into anything else. So here's your IWM. And again, looking here on a 15-day, 30-minute, had that pop above 207.21, 207.21 again there on Thursday. Here's our retracement back below there. 203.69 is now the middle point, and that is your break point. You can see it here very clear as resistance there on Monday. But we still need to break down below that 199.40. That 199.40 is the big go-to. Get that 199.40 broken, and we start to see a rapid movement down to that 181.73. Period. The end. That's just the way that this is. 199.40, aka the 2024 Open on the IWM. Once it is retraced below, pressure builds over on that 194. 194 is vacated. You will see 181.73 before you can eat 3 tacos at Taco Bell and run to the toilet and shit your brains out. So that's enough with this, and I will then bring you to where I want to actually focus. And that being that, okay, we're up 101 days without a 5% correction. Like I shared, we're up 101 days on the SPX without a 3% correction. SPX, credit's working all month. One day, getting ahead of that FOMC. The FOMC, the 1-1-1 hiccup. And the roll, as again discussed, looking there at Monday, today, Tuesday, the latest, we are going to be there below 5,200. QQQ, very interesting here. 5 consecutive green closes. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not uncommon for the QQQ. Not uncommon at all. Multiple green closes in a row back there in the middle of January. Again, back here in early part of January, coming off of the big bottom. Multiple going back for weeks and weeks, all the way back here into the October 27th bottom. So it's not uncommon over on the QQQ, and it's also why we didn't trade the QQQ. We were trading the SPX. So I bring you over to the JPM alarm, which went out quite a few weeks ago, and how I was watching JPM closely. We hit that 187.08. I mentioned this in Tuesday's email last week. Plausible stretch to 193. Jamie Dimon's family selling. The weekly RSI is up here at COVID. Weekly RSI, no matter where you look at it, no matter where you look at your daily, this thing is euphoric. And we bring you over to JP Morgan. And JP Morgan with the 200 print there very early in the morning there on Friday, and some idiot is sitting there holding JP Morgan above 200. Like I said, that's what they were looking for, expecting it. Pretty nice decline there, as you are right here, almost completely engulfing where the FOMC day began. Back here on March 21. This is your March 21 here. FOMC being right around here. Right on down there. Wider view. I can't look at this in a multiple number of different ways. I can look at it very, I can't even use the word the right way, but I could see this, okay? I could see this, very possible, as being the big 3. This being the bigger 3, all right? I should have edited this while I had it, so I'm not wasting your time. That being the big 3, this is undoubtedly 1 and 2, okay? I don't care where you come from, everybody's got it. That's your 1, that's your 2. This could be 3, and then, again, because that could be 3, this could be your 4. It's one way I can look at this. And here we are into the final 5th. which we start to zoom into. But before we zoom into it and how we're looking at this as a weekly, your RSI on your weekly, highest it's ever been, 97. The daily got some help there on Friday as this divergence on the daily has been running, literally running, since December, but doesn't make a difference. You got a little bit of a decline there on your RSI on your daily, and as you can continue to see, that divergence on the daily just continued to get heavier and heavier and heavier, but price action did not care. Got your little oversold there in the middle of January after earnings when we killed JP Morgan, and foof, just straight up since. So again, I can look at this in a bullish manner if I have to. This being the 1 going into February of 2023, the 2, now this being the 1, 2, and the 3, with a 4 retracement not being able to break down below 160 or it negates. All we're looking at here is the short term. And in this short term, going into earnings, all I'm looking for is that 186.40. That's it, right here. This 186.40 is all I'm looking for. That's it. That's the reason I got into the trade that I got into. Friday, nice little move. Got to see 193.71 breakdown because again, on JP Morgan, we are now looking at 20 out of 21 weeks green. 20 out of 21 weeks green. This is, it's a gift if approached correctly. It's a gift. The unfortunate part about that gift is you only have 2 weeks. You have this week and you have next week, because getting into JP Morgan ahead of their earnings, which is on April the 12th, it's a waste of exposure. Where when JP Morgan reports on that Friday, just like we did before, on that Friday morning, we will have a trade put out. And on that Friday, we will take JP Morgan down for 1,000%, 1,500%, 2,000% on that Friday expiration, April the 12th. But the earnings reaction will allow the ability to be able to go out there and get into a May, a June, a July contract for that retracement down into the 160, 165, 156 area. But for now, all that we've got is what we're trading with in front of us. And this leads me as well into what I'm going to be bringing out for you. And I worked on it quite a bit. I'm going to be sharing with you a video this coming weekend, being it's a long weekend. I was going to do it today, but I'm not. And I think everybody who sees this video that I put out next week, you're going to need to take a day off. You might even, if this really hits you between the eyes the way it's supposed to, I'm not a audio visual guy, so all I can do is tell you what it is. But if this delivery goes the way that it goes in my head when I've recited different portions of it, the highlights, and it hits you between the eyes, you're going to need a couple of days off to digest it. And you're going to need to figure your shit out before you move forward. Because unlike you, I can unplug the internet today and never go online ever again. I want all of you to be able to do that same thing. So here we are with futures. I'll bring you back to futures because I've rambled on with your time enough. It is down. We are now down 4 points on the ES, down 10 points over on the NQ, down fractionally over on the YM, which is getting oversold already. And the Russell 2000 Again, the same thing. So Mondays are Mondays, as we've shared before, with Mondays closing red consecutively for how many weeks in a row, and knowing last week, Monday, the streak could probably get broken because we had so many in a row. I would be looking for this Monday to be closing down, and that close down meaning we will be into that 52.25 gap being filled and heading down here somewhere close to that 51.75. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your Monday morning, and enjoy every single sunrise. And you'll see why next week.
This guy is Martin Shkreli. Now, you may remember him from a few years ago where he became known as Pharma Bro and also as the most hated man in America, or perhaps you know him by his lesser-known moniker, Federal Inmate Number 87850-053. You see, little Marty here was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison after being convicted on multiple counts of securities fraud. He's banned for life from working in any capacity in the pharmaceutical industry. He's also banned for life from ever running any publicly traded company. And now he wants you to know that he is a CoreWeave customer and that he thinks I'm an idiot for being suspicious of that company. What's up, guys? I'm nobody special, and for several months now, I've been making videos that are very critical of the AI mania that's been going on in the stock market. As Nvidia stock has rallied hundreds of dollars currently as of the making of this video, pushing almost $1,000 a share, I've been drawing attention to the fact that there's some very creative accounting going on at that company. In particular, something known as round tripping, where Nvidia makes strategic investments in a company like CoreWeave, and then CoreWeave turns around and takes that same money and hands it right back to Nvidia to buy their chips. And so it's really just Nvidia's money going around in circles, but it looks like organic revenue growth. And when I started looking into CoreWeave, I found some very suspicious things, like the involvement of Magnetar Capital, who has a history of creating sabotaged investments, selling them to unsuspecting retail investors while simultaneously betting against them. I also found some suspicious thing in the background of CoreWeave's founders, who have no background in data centers, but they do have a background in things like hedge funds and cryptocurrency, and most suspiciously in running carbon credits through shell companies in the Cayman Islands in something that's eerily similar to a scheme known as transfer mispricing, which Interpol has highlighted as being a risk for tax evasion and money laundering. I've also done videos about some of Nvidia's other shady customers that they've taken out investments in, like companies that are for-profit but wholly owned subsidiaries of non-profit animal welfare charities founded by crypto billionaire Jed McCaleb, not to mention Hyperscale Nexus, which is run by pump and dumpers, fraudsters, and even a money launderer who just happens to share an office in Dubai with the head of an international drug cartel. True story, check out that video. And so you can imagine my complete and total lack of surprise that an epic dirtbag like Martin Shkreli would come to the defense of Nvidia and CoreWeave. Yesterday, the story broke that CoreWeave was now seeking a $16 billion valuation, which is more than double the $7 billion valuation that they had previously received from Fidelity a few months ago. And so when Frodo Baggins here posted that story on X last night, someone named Jamarco posted a link to my interview with Samantha LeDuc, where we talked about some of the suspicious dealings at CoreWeave. To which Classy Martin responded, "Yeah, I called out how retarded that was when it happened, some of the dumbest shit I've heard." Now, an interesting thing about this story breaking yesterday was that it happened on the same day that one of CoreWeave's biggest customers, Inflection AI, who was just eaten alive by Microsoft, decided that they want to ask CoreWeave for their money back. And so since Martin was feeling froggy, I decided to ask him what he thought about that, while also reminding people that, hey, this scumbag has been convicted on multiple counts of securities fraud. And so began a back and forth on X that lasted about an hour. I'll put a link to that thread down below if you want to check that out. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. But apparently after I went to bed last night, Pharma Bro here wasn't done, and he went on a nearly 6-hour Twitter Spaces rant about what an idiot I am and what a wonderful company that CoreWeave is. Now, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I did catch a few clips, such as this little gem.
Let's keep asking this idiot to come in, JG Nuke. Try to teach him something. I'm challenging this guy to come in here and so I could slap the shit out of him in front of all of you people.
That is some awful strong language from a man who cried at his sentencing hearing after begging the judge to have mercy on him. So long story short, Scammy Alfalfa here, who's just another in a long line of fraudsters and crooks who are trying to make money off of the AI mania, has stepped forward to act as a character witness on behalf of CoreWeave. I'm sure CoreWeave just loves that. And don't for a second think that this creep has changed his ways. In just a year and a half since he's been released from prison, he's already violated his probation at least once when he left the state to appear on Tucker Carlson. And the FTC has asked a federal judge to hold him in contempt of court because his company DL Software, the DL stands for drug-like, runs algorithms to help with the discovery of new pharmaceuticals. And remember, he has a lifetime ban from working in any capacity in the pharmaceutical industry, so it seems like this guy is on a mission to get himself thrown back in the slammer. He also ran a crypto scam called Martin Shkreli Inu, where, good for him, he made enough money to move out of his sister's place when he dumped 90% of the Martin Shkreli Inu coins that he was holding on unsuspecting retail investors and crashed the price. Shocker, Martin Shkreli's crypto ended up being a pump and dump. Now look guys, epic dirtbag coming to the defense of shady AI company isn't really headline grabbing news. This isn't that big of a story. And remember, Martin Shkreli is not the only crook, creep, or scumbag or outright fraudster that's involved in the AI mania. He joins the ranks of crypto scammers, pump and dumpers, money launderers, shady characters moving carbon credits through shell companies, fake charities, and let's not forget NVIDIA themselves, who has a documented history of accounting fraud. Now I have to ask you, if you're walking around and you see maggots and rats scurrying around your feet and you look overhead and there's buzzards circling, don't you think that might be a little suspicious to you? When all of society's bottom feeders are lurking in the same general area, don't you think there might be something rotten going on? Till next time, live small and dream big.